I forgot my t-shirt too. I forgot my Creality t-shirt. Oh my
I'm
God.
not wearing one of mine.
Oh, I sent you one, right? Oh, did you receive that?
Everything's streaming.
I think we are online right now.
Yep. Hi, everybody.
Right? Yes, I think people just in. A lot of people in. Hi, guys. So also can hear me, right? Because I did a test with Frank before, so he can hear me. I think people also can hear me. Hi. Hello? Yes, I think yes. Hi, Corey. Yes, hi, Brandy. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me on today.
Yes, I'm so excited, Frank. It's my second time to invite you here.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, because of him, because of the Ironman, and then just what I thought just now, I forgot my anniversary T-shirt. And how about you? I think I sent you one, Frank. Did you receive
Yeah,
that?
I haven't gotten it yet. It was sent a while ago, but shipping takes a little while now.
Yes. For some people, they still waiting for the gift. I'm so sorry. And then we checked that. I think for the Europe, for the Europe area, just only the UK can receive the stuff for quickly. And besides that, I think need to wait 1 month. I don't know. See that people say hi here. What's up, Frank?
Hi, everybody.
Yes, and Saturday. Yes, a Saturday evening, and then people, oh God, just only me here. And then I take off my mask because no one here. I also want to talk like that for today because it's Saturday. Yes, I think it's good for my audience and also Frank. But I think the first thing is your audience. You are the main person today. It's not me.
Thank you.
Yes. So besides me, also everyone can hear Frank, right?
Yeah, it seems it's somebody said they can hear us both.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, so yes, so it's your second time because you finished your Ironman series. So I also want to know more about this project. It's an amazing project, and also I know that you have one more printer, the CR10 Max for today.
Yeah, you can.
Yes, for recently. Yes. So yes. Okay. So it's your time. Your soul time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, maybe you can, yes, just go ahead.
So, let's see. Okay. Are you okay if I maximize mine? My screen?
Yes, sure. Yes, you can.
That's yours.
Not me. Yes. You can switch.
I think you can make mine big and yours small, I believe.
No, I can do that, but you can do that just now.
Uh-oh.
What's wrong? You can do that just now.
Just moving screens around, folks. There we go. Hey, that's something. Hi, guys. Creality invited me on today to just kind of show my project and basically just talk about like 3D printing in general, and if like this was the route you guys wanted to go, doing some type of 3D printing project, finishing prints, making bigger stuff. Um, just what do you do? You know what I've done to make this, what I'm going to be working on. So I'll try to answer a lot of questions. We have a couple streams from YouTube. I think we're broadcasting to the both Creality YouTube and Facebook groups, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's my project. If you haven't seen it, Creality's been pretty cool about sharing it and helping promote it and giving me support for it. So that's been really cool and fun. I started on it back in October. I actually started printing it. I started 3D printing back in July, and I started with a Creality CR10S printer, and just kind of grew from there. It was a pretty good starter printer for like cosplay and bigger prints. But that entire suit was printed between two CR10Ss, which is more than capable of handling something like this. What can we talk about? Let's see. Wait. Hold on 1 second, guys. So, a few things I wanted to touch on. Getting started 3D printing and like what you would do and what you would want to look out for. I think when I was in the market looking for this thing and trying to figure out what printer would be best to make a bigger cosplay suit, a couple printers kept popping up, but I think the printer that popped up the most was some type of CR10 variant, just because of its size. It's a very capable printer, like I said, and it was pretty cheap. I think new at the time, almost a year ago, was about $500, and now you can get them for like 400 used, and there's even V2s and upgraded versions that you can utilize and get much. They're a little bit more expensive, but you just want a big print bed basically, and that's what that printer gave me the opportunity to do. Somebody was just messaging me today asking about an Ender 3, if they would get started using like an Ender 3 on a bigger cosplay project for the props and weaponry. And it's a capable printer. It's a good size. I think it's like the ultimate starter printer. It's like $200 right now, and you can get $15 worth of filament, and you can be printing pretty big stuff pretty quickly. Like most of the helmets I make, these only use about 3/4 of a roll of filament, which is pretty crazy to think about. So if I play my cards right, depending on support placement, infill, and all that, I can get almost 2 whole helmets out of an entire roll of filament. So that's a pretty good, production return from usually like $10-15. Right now I know filament's a little more expensive because of the times in the world, but hopefully when this all starts to level out, it will go back to being $10-12 for a roll of good PLA. Jeet asks, which printer do you think has a good balance of big bed size and accuracy and detail? I have to go with. I used to say the CR10S just as itself, but since the V2s and the Pros have come out, I think either one has benefits. The V2 is just a better CR10S, but you don't get auto level, you don't get some of the Pro features. I really think it's a pretty tough competition between like the V2 and the Pro, or even something like something like a Sidewinder. So you want something about 300, a 300 by 300 build plate. Usually, if your build plate's that wide, it'll have a pretty good height as well, so you can print pretty big stuff. Like so, the suit here, I'll try to point to it properly. The feet were printed in one piece. The shin I had to cut about here, so I printed it in 2 pieces. I could have printed it much taller. I could have put it on the build plate and maxed it out and only had to print out just the top. But when I do big tall prints, I'll usually split the difference and cut the middle. This way, it's less risk of failure with a tall print. Just because you can print something, I think that's a big misconception that a lot of people kind of, I can get a big printer. I can print something huge, I can print something really big and easy. Like I have the CR10 Max right here. So theoretically, I printed this suit in about 46 to 47 pieces. I cut it at the shin. I cut it at the thigh. The cod piece and butt plate were 2 pieces. The abs were 4 pieces. The chest and back were 4 pieces. The shoulder, bicep, and forearm were all 1 piece. I could have printed the whole leg, the whole thigh, the whole shin, the entire chest on something like the CR10 Max in 1 shot, not having to cut anything. But that doesn't, I think, necessarily mean you should. Especially certain big armor plates that have a lot of curves and features and details. Though I could fit it on my Max, the amount of support structure you would use to print something like that, it's not worth it. I'm also working on a new armor, the Star Boost you can see here. I got a little bit of it printed, and I'm actually about to print the whole chest plate. If I don't orient it right and slice some parts off, it's going to be about a 7-day print, and that's a lot. I don't want to print that long. the higher you get up in print times, there's more risk of failure. And while you can save a lot of prints, you can glue and weld. And for example, the ad plates here, I printed it in 4 sections. I cut it down the middle and then across. And so I printed it in 4 pieces on my CR10Ss. I don't think I had one part fail. So you fail, it fails. You do some creative, slicing inside your. You can use Cura. I think Cura now has a plane cut feature. It's an add-on, so I'm still trying to figure that one out. But you can use programs like Slicer, Mesh Mixer. There was another one that someone just recommended to me. I can't remember the name of it. But you can cut the parts up, and then you can print the rest of the part that failed and glue it back together. So there are a lot of parts like that on the suit that didn't actually print completely in one piece that I had to go back and save. And a lot of people I've seen will just throw out a wasted print. They'll, oh, my print failed at 96%, toss it. And I don't see the point of that, because even in a lot of software and programs, you can actually take a print and then subduct it underneath the bed and just print what's positive. And then you can use, plastic welding, you can glue it, do it, whatever, to finish the print. And I had to do that a couple times because I didn't want to waste material. So if you're getting a big printer because you just see the build volume size and you're like, man, I want to print everything on that, you really have to consider the balance of it. Is it worth it? Or like that 7-day print I was talking about for the whole chest of the Star Boost, I think it was 52% of the print time was supports, and that's ridiculous. Like, no. So I cut a couple of things off, I reoriented it, and now it's going to be something along the lines of 2.5 days for most of the chest, and I only had to cut a couple small parts off. So even though I have the max, I still haven't maxed out its build volume. I've done some pretty tall prints, and I think the thing that's on it right now, it's the ab section for Star Boost. It is bigger than what can fit on my CR10S, but it's still not the absolute max size, 450 by 450 by 470. So let's see. Sorry. I have allergies, so my voice is a little raspy, and so you need to take a drink. Does the latest firmware come with thermal runaway? I know that some CR10S in the past didn't. I believe all of the new printers, I believe the V2, both Pros, the Pro V2 and the Pro, I think a lot of new printers do come with that. Oh, that's cool. So I can display the comment. That's pretty cool. They do come with thermal runaway protection now, because that is a problem a lot of people have or are afraid of, and I was afraid of it too. It was one of the first things I did was flash my firmware to enable thermal runaway. I think TH3D and Tiny Machines, they have pretty good firmware. My Max came with thermal runaway. The Ender 5 I have on the way, I'm pretty sure it comes with thermal runaway. It's an N5 Plus. So, and if not, flashing firmware is a lot easier than a lot of people think, especially if any of the CR10 line and the Max and they have a bootloader pre-installed. It's like an Arduino built into the main board, so you can just plug in your USB cable, upgrade the firmware. Something like an normal Ender doesn't have that. You need to buy a bootloader separately, and then you flash it. It's a little more complicated, but I'm actually working on some tutorials for flashing firmware and just an easier way to do it. Let's see. Is it worth having alignment issues with cut models and welding them? A dome, for example, on an Ender 3. Worth it's not the word I would use for that. It's cause and effect. Do you have a smaller printer, but you want to make bigger stuff? You're going to limit yourself. You're going to have to cut things apart. You can run into alignment issues. You can cut things apart and never have an alignment issue, depending on how you orient the print. I've made prints that had some bad lifting on the bottom, and when you try to meet the two parts, it actually looks like that. There's a little bit of a gap. So you can plastic weld that. I just got done plastic welding something really big, a cool project I'm working on. And it took me probably about 3 hours to plastic weld everything, because the parts were very long. And even though they touched here in the middle, there were still these massive gaps that I really had to melt plastic into and fill. So that wasn't fun. So I think if you're going to jump in and you're thinking about doing something like a big suit, a big armor or cosplay, and that you really have to consider what you're getting into the hobby for. If you think like this might be the biggest thing you're going to make, maybe you're going to make a helmet for the most part. You're making figurines and little decorations and stuff. An Ender 3 and Ender 3 Pro, something like that's going to be pretty perfect for it. But if you really are dedicated and you're like, I want to make armor, I want to make cosplay, I want to make, big weapons. I just got done with Stormbreaker, and this was printed across all my printers, actually. The blade and the hammer were printed on my Macs, and then everything on the handle was printed on my CR10Ss, and everything unscrews. So I was able to run a metal rod through it, and then everything actually comes apart for storage. If I need to ship it, if I ended up selling something like this, I can actually break it down and ship it out and store it better. I just got a CR10S Pro. How do you cut prints and glue them together? I don't glue parts. I stopped using super glue a long time ago. A lot of people swear by certain epoxies. I'm not a big fan of them. They've never been as strong as I wanted them to be. What I'll do is I'll plastic weld. I'll actually take a very, very, very cheap hot knife soldering iron, and you put the two pieces together with tape. You could very lightly super glue them, but melting super glue is very toxic. Don't do it. And if you're plastic welding, you wear a respirator, please. So all you do is you basically, I have a tutorial for it on my YouTube. I'm not trying to plug that. I genuinely, that's why I put that information out there, making little just tips and tricks for people who are doing, especially bigger prints, multiple pieces and attaching and fitting. I've been told it's pretty hard to tell I ever even cut the chest up into 4 pieces. There's no seam line in the middle. And I plastic welded them. All you do is you take the plastic and you melt it and you actually fold it into each other, and then you can use the hot knife to kind of smooth it out. It does mean you're going to have to sand it, but it can give you a very, very, very strong bond that when you're done, looks perfectly seamless. So a lot of people will ask about Bondo and fillers. How much wood filler did you use on that? How much Bondo did you use on that helmet or that suit? I didn't use any wood filler or Bondo on this entire suit. I didn't use resin, XTC 3D, nothing. I sanded everything with an electric palm sander, that entire suit. And I don't believe, I apologize because I don't have any freshly sanded parts in here. But you can see how you can see what it actually looks like. Like there's no layer lines in this. I was able to smooth it all out. There's also no clear coat on this right now. It's in a testing phase. I'm actually adding the motorized hinges to it currently. So this one's not done or clear coated, but you can still see I got it, just with gold. It's pretty shiny. And there's no filler on this. This took about 2 minutes to sand down nice and smooth. Normal primer, and then right to paint. Okay, let's see. How easy is the CR10 to set up and adjust the steppers? You don't need to adjust Martin Handshaw. You don't need to adjust the steppers. A lot of people jump into thinking you have to program the printers and do all this setup. As long as you build it right and you learn to calibrate it, you don't need to start adjusting things like E-steps. I just adjusted my first set of E-steps on my Ender 3 just to see if it made a difference. I've never messed with steppers or E-steps on my CR10Ss or my Macs. Usually you don't need to. I heard vase mode. Vase mode is cool. So I think it's called vase mode in Prussia and some other slicers. In Cura, it's called spiralized outer contour, and it's one continuous print. So it never actually stops printing, and it will spin up and only print the outer layer and the inner layer of that part. No infill, no density. It's for display things. You couldn't use it for something like this because it's one layer of plastic and it's soft. Test it out. You can pretty much spiralize almost anything depending on the shape and orientation of it. So that comes out. No. Or kiss back. Andy Tan. I kind of already covered it, but no, I wouldn't. It's too small. It's limiting. You're going to limit your ability um, to make. You can do it. I don't want to say you can't because people do it, but a good example. All right, um, the thigh parts right here, right, the whole thigh. To fit it on a big my CR10s, all I had to do was cut it like a cylinder, just right in half. Cut right in half, flip the parts, stood them up just like this on my printer. And then I can take them off and they're already a nice circle. They're already fused and bonded together from the original geometry of the print. I couldn't fit those thighs on an ender bed. So not only would I have to cut it in half like this, I would then need to make pie cuts like this. I'd have to cut it here and here. So now you're breaking up the geometry of that circle, and all four of those prints now need to come out perfectly for you then to take them and make a circle again. And if any of them are warped or bowed, you're not going to be able to make that good circle, and it's going to cause more problems. Now again, size is limited. Some people can't fit four printers, in their room, or that's totally not fair. It just means you're going to have to do more work. I could have made this entire thing on the ender. I could have made this on I think there's a MakerBot out there that's like 200 by 200. You can do that, but it's a lot more post work, and then you're going to have a lot of seam lines to fill in. So I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it. It's a tool. The printer doesn't build the suit for you. It just prints the parts. You have to bond them all together. You have to glue them. You have to fuse them. You have to paint them. So what's the trade-off, So let's see, let's look at this. Let's look at Stormbreaker real quick. This thing is, I love this thing. So you can see I was able to get this pretty smooth too. I wish it was a little more chrome. Sorry, I'm blocking my face. So post processing. How are you painting and printing your things? Just wanted to touch on that real fast. And I'll get a print. Print quality matters. When I went into the hobby initially, I thought, oh, I'm just gonna use Bondo and wood filler and fill it all. I don't care about print quality. I don't, whatever. Who cares if my prints come out bad? I'm gonna sand them and they're gonna look fine. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Clean prints come from typically a good built printer, not your G-coded settings. The amount of times I get people who will ask, hey man, what's your print profile? Hey man, send me your profile. What are your settings? What's your wall thickness? What info? Like, print profiles don't matter as much as people think. They put a lot of weight into your settings. You could have the perfect G code. You could have your filament temperature dialed in. Your retractions are perfect. You've modified the G code and edited different start sequences. Your walls are beautiful. Like, it is the perfect G code, and it would print perfectly. But your printer sucks, and I don't mean it sucks like you bought a low quality printer. I mean it's not tuned right. It doesn't matter how good that G code is. If your X gantry is wobbly when it shouldn't be, your X should only move in your X direction. If it's a little wobbly, you're going to get banding. If your Z gantry is a little wobbly, you're going to get banding. If you're too close to your bed, if you're under extruding, if your temperature isn't right, there's so many little things on your printer that can ruin a good print. The best G code in the world won't save a poorly built print. It won't save a print on a bad printer. So I think a lot of people will jump into the hobby, and there's a lot of information out there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation because there's a lot of people who have been doing this for years on older printers. They jumped in it when it was the DIY out of the box, where everybody was still learning, and they forget that since they've been doing this for 5-10 years, that they don't think about the small things. Like, I can level my bed in a minute or two now, where it might take somebody a brand new a few hours. It's experience, and people will start to lose track of what the tinier pitfalls were. Like, what was the small hindrances when they first started that now just seem so natural. literally as we were getting ready for this live stream, that my blue CR10 down here ran out of filament, and it just stopped printing. And I, real quick swap just to put more filament in. Where, a lot of people don't even know that you can do that. That you can pause the print, or the printer will stop, or how to swap out filament if you don't have a like a filament runout sensor and you can feed it in. So a lot of people skip the learning of the machine. It's not like a microwave. It's not like plug it in, turn it on, and it works. You need to learn the machine too, as much as you need to learn the G code and the settings and the software. Because if you're looking at your retraction settings, but you don't know how the extruder even works, how are you going to know what that setting does? And you start playing with it, not really fully comprehending what happens. I could talk forever about building your printer better. Tighten things. Go around, make sure everything's tight. Your Y should only move flat in the Y direction. If your bed is wobbly, that's bad. One thing a lot of people don't consider is the weight of the print. If I start printing something huge, a very big print, and I'm still using like the stock factory bed springs, it can actually bow and push down the bed springs a little, and then you'll actually start to get a little bit of under extrusion because your nozzle is slowly creeping away farther and farther. The nozzle is always going to move up on the X gantry the same amount of distance. It doesn't know how much the bed has drooped. So near the top of tall prints, you'll start to get under extrusion. If your bed's wobbly, if your X gantry is wobbly, you'll start to get banding. So looking at your print can tell you a lot about what's going wrong with your printer. And just learn the machine. Please, just learn the hardware. Let's see. What printer would you say is the best? That's a loaded question. There's no best printer. I like the NECR10S variant. They're just workhorses. Let's see. If you bought, sorry, my camera's going. If you bought a second-hand known brand printer that's heavily modified, would you take the time to restore it back to stock? Yeah, actually, yeah, probably. I would ditch probably a lot of the soft hardware that people put on printers, but if it was having problems, I'd want to know it'd be hard to dial in what those problems were because you don't know what's modified. So that's tricky. I would only buy I only bought my second CR10S used once I understood my first one. And if you ever built a CR10, you know they come pretty pre-assembled. You just have to put the X gantry on and bolt it. When I got my second used printer, I disassembled everything, every nut, bolt, screw, and then built it back up to see what was wrong with it and just basically make it like new. Should I apply spray primer before sanding? Andy can. That is a question I get a lot about armors. Let me take one of the arms off. Sorry about that. We'll take a look at some smooth prints. So post-processing, I will talk your ear off about post-processing. I love it because there's a lot of tricks that people don't try. So I think I got a nice finish right here. There's a little bit of crud right here. I don't know if that's a scratch or a mark or what that is, but so nice smooth print. It had layer lines when I printed it. It actually looked something like this. You can actually see the layer lines in that because I haven't finished this yet. It's it pushes down when I flex my arm, and there's no filler primer on this. So bigger prints like this, you can just sand them down. That's it. I use an electric dual orbital palm sander, and I'll just smooth everything down. And it doesn't get rid of the details. It doesn't interfere with the lines and stuff, as long as you don't sand too much. Obviously, if you start sanding and sanding and sanding, you're going to go through the layers and the walls. You just got to be careful. I have that tutorial on my YouTube too about smoothing prints with an electric sander, and it works great. Everybody was so scared of power tools when they started. When I started looking at forums and groups, everybody was like, "Oh, you can't use power tools on this. Blah blah. It's the devil." And I just really didn't understand why. Because I've been building Gundam models for years. So I know how to work with plastic. I've been working on cars for years. I know how to work on bumpers, and So I tried it out. I took I took people's advice without verifying for myself. Trust but verify. So they got the arm nice and smooth, and I'll just wear this. That'll be the last one. Just me, slowly putting on the armor. So I used Bondo. I used filler. I tried it. I didn't like it. It was just extra steps, and I tried the electric sander, and it works. It smoothed my prints out perfectly, and that was it. It was amazing. And then I didn't use any filler primer, and I just primed it and painted. And your prep work is key. If you've ever worked on a car, if you've ever done any body work, or if you've been painting 3D prints, however much time you spend prepping your prep stage, your sanding and your primer stage, if you have imperfections in that, if you can see layer lines in your primer stage, if you can see imperfections in holes, painting it will not make that go away. It never does. It'll continue through the paint, and you will see it in the finished product. So taking your time to get your print nice and smooth before you paint it, or when you prime it, that's gonna pay off in dividends in the end. Especially when you go to polish it and buff it and clear coat it and all that, it'll come out looking very, very nice. However, on smaller parts so in here, all where the stones are, I couldn't sand in there really. I couldn't use an electric sander in there. So what I had to do was use a little bit of just primer and very small detailed spots. Yeah, I decided to sit there by hand and sand them. I could have used a buttload of filler primer and saved myself the trouble, but I didn't want to. I liked how I was doing the work, and I think it came out good. But you can see the fingers, you can see my layer lines. They don't look that good at all. The fingers are kind of rough. These were some of the first things I printed for the suit was the actual fingers. And I'm printing more now. I actually have them right here. They're getting updated. And my print quality has gone up significantly. So I'm actually sanding and smoothing them out. And they're going to be all new fingers for the glove that will look much better. Let's see, what other questions you got? Jeet, do the batteries and servos heat up in the motorized helmet or LED eyes? No, they really don't get that warm. As long as you turn them off, if you let the motor run when it has torque in one direction, the motor will heat up, but it doesn't get hot at all. Okay. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about post-processing. So for something like this, to get it nice and smooth and shiny and glossy, what I did, like I said, sanded it down with the palm sander, a nice layer of primer, just normal. I think I used normal automotive primer. It's like Rust-Oleum. It's like $4, and then I'll prime it, and I'll hit it real quick with like 200 grit, just real quick, just smooth out any of the dust and misting from the primer, and then I go right into my base coat. So for the gold, I went right into gold. For the gunmetal, I went right into gunmetal. The red, I did actually it was this color red right here. I know it doesn't look too different, but this is the red I ended up using. And on top of that, later, then I added like a more metallic, darker red that had like a nice metal flake. And once that was all dry, I wet sanded it with about 1500 to 200 grit sandpaper and clear coated it. And once the clear coat was dry, I wet sanded it one more time. And then I literally buffed it, polished it, and waxed it with like normal car automotive wax and automotive compound. This is all automotive spray paint. So it's a very strong clear coat that just looks great and shiny. It's due for another wax. The light in here isn't the best, and I apologize, but it still gives off that nice sheen. You can actually, in certain parts, you can see the reflection in it, so it helps. Okay, that's a great question. Does the palm sander not melt the plastic? I tried with a Dremel and it melted into the plastic. That's because you used a Dremel. Unfortunately, Dremels spin a lot faster than a dual orbital palm sander. So a dual orbital is a random palm sander. And what it does is it not only does it spin the sanding disc in one axis, right? The whole spinning axis then wobbles. So it's not the same line. If you were even to sit in the same spot, sit with here with the palm sander, it's spinning. That's going to melt the plastic. While it's spinning, it'll also automatically move around, and it's random. And you need to move around. You need to practice. It's not something you just instantly just pick up. Like practice on raw prints, and if you do sit in the same spot too long, it will melt the plastic. It'll start to get sanded and it'll turn matte, and then suddenly it'll start to turn glossy again because it's melting. So you got to be careful with it. Let me take this off now. How is Starboost going? Starboost is going great. I had the arms done. I'm starting on the shoulders now and the abs. So I only have the backpack and the chest left. Yeah. And then DO3D still needs to release the lower body, and then I'll start on that. Do you buff and wax then clear coat? No, clear coat. No, buff and wax is after your clear coat. Primer, paint, clear coat. Let that clear coat dry, and then you can wet sand. I use rubbing compound, McGuire or Autoglim clear resin polish, and then gold fast wax. Can you guys hear fine now?
Yes. Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Yeah, detail sander is actually pretty cool. Cool too. That's it's a little bit of a different type of sander. It literally helps with smaller details.
Hot here.
Yeah, even a Dremel at its lowest speed it's a rotary tool. It's not a sanding tool. The sanding discs on something like a Dremel, I use them on the suit. I actually use them in areas where like my supports were when I was printing the parts. I'll actually take advantage of that melting feature that a Dremel will cause. So yeah, you don't want your plastic to melt, right? But you know what? Actually, I think I have it right here. So this is one of Starboost's arms, little forearm. And by the way, this is what my CR10S is pumping out. These hexagons came out.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is awesome. I printed it just like this, standing straight up. Okay. The only support it needed was in here, and then there was a little bit. You can see it drooped a little bit right there. So you can see that I still need to clean up a lot of the support material. All right. And what I'll do with a Dremel with the sanding disc is I'll knock this down, and I'll actually take advantage of how it melts the plastic, and I'll actually use the melting plastic in front of it. If you have a welded metal, you use the puddle to actually, you make a puddle and you kind of drag or push the puddle. I'll use that melting plastic to actually smooth out this entire thing. I won't use my palm sander for this, because what it'll do is it'll melt and fill in all the little holes and gaps that the first layer kind of made. And I print with a raft, so it sometimes makes some weird parts, but I'll print it just like this, and it'll help me also clean up a lot of the sharp edges. Because when you have armor parts that are going to be touching and rubbing, you don't want sharp edges. So all this is nice and smoothed out. So when it actually collides and contacts with the bicep, it doesn't scratch and damage it as much. It still will take damage over time. That's just kind of part of the hobby, unfortunately. Liam Baden. Hey, there's a good question. Do I trust my printers? My printers run 24/7. Like these two prints have been going for 15 hours. My max has been going for 37 hours, and it's only 70% done. You need to trust your printer. And if you don't understand how the printer works, you can't really trust it too well. Thermal runaway protection is key. I also have a little Wi-Fi camera that I decorated like a little robot. If you know what this is, you're awesome.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. Well, what's my purpose? To watch my printers. So this is a Wise Wi-Fi camera. If you're in the UK, Neo Smart Cam, and what it does, put it somewhere. I'll put it on my desk right here, and it watches my printers. And it's a Wi-Fi camera that I can log into and just watch my printers. It has night vision too. Above me, I have a smoke alarm. Then this is so this is building levels. I have thermal runaway protection. My printer should never overheat. Vayen, we're going to get to that question. Ooh, that's a good one. Thermal runaway protection. God forbid that doesn't work, right? Thermal runaway the printer doesn't pick up. Your printer starts to overheat and smoke. I have a smoke alarm. The smoke alarm starts to go off. The Wise camera listens for that, and it'll send me a push notification. Hey, we detected an alarm in your house. I can pull up my pull up the camera. I can look. Oh, hey, there's smoke. Aside from getting home as quick as possible, I have 4 Wi-Fi sockets, and they were like $5 each. And you can see, yeah. So you can't see what they say, unfortunately. Yeah, there we go. My screen's cracked. So I have my Ender, my yellow CR10, my blue CR10, and my Max. And if I hit these power buttons right now, they will turn off instantly. So I can control my printers. Now, I can also turn them back on. I can't do anything else besides that to them. But you don't want to just turn off the printer and let the nozzle sit hot. I get bad juju. So what I'll do is I'll cycle power, turn it off, kills the print, turn it back on. Now it can cool down. I can also use this to stop a print if I see it failing. There's spaghetti. I can't see it. I can't say it failed. Turn it off, turn it back on. Now there are programs you can buy, things like Octoprint and a lot of programming with Raspberry Pis and Arduinos that automatically detect that. But if you don't want to mess with any programming, a Wi-Fi camera and a Wi-Fi socket, you can get them together for $25-$30, and you can control your printer from anywhere, theoretically. Say that doesn't work. I don't catch it in time. The notification still doesn't work. I have a thermal sensor, and you can actually see it right here. It's a thermal sensor, and if it's plugged into the main power socket that goes to my power strip, and if this gets over 100, if that sensor detects the room gets over 120 degrees, which it shouldn't, it'll cut power to everything. Everything on this my workbench over here. I can look this up actually. So I got my hand shaky. So it'll cut power to all 4 of my printers. God forbid that doesn't work. There's a fire, like an actual fire breaks out. It's electronics. Things can happen. Microwaves can burn your house down. It's electronics. If there's electricity involved, there is a danger. This is a fire extinguisher ball, and it's mounted right here next to my printers. If this gets over, 70 degrees Celsius, so like 130 something, 140 degrees Fahrenheit, if this is subjected to flame for more than 3 seconds, it blows up and it extinguishes fire. It'll envelop this whole room with smoke, and it'll put the fire out. All that coupled, I don't care about leaving my printers running. The worst thing I'm worried about is the print failing, and if the print fails, the print fails. Honestly, I don't care if my house burns down. I care about my dogs and my family. That's it. This can burn. This is replaceable. I have insurance. I don't care. I care about my family. I don't, and actually most of the houses in England are brick, so it'd be very interesting to see a fire break out. This is $25, but this is $25 well spent, I think. How long you reckon would a typical printer be able to print continuously without risk of theoretically, a printer could print forever. I don't know. I've never done stress tests. I've seen people print for 10, 15 days. Make sure your stuff's calibrated. Let's see. All right, electric bill. Let's talk about that for a second. I have a smart meter downstairs, and it's a little box meter that tells me how much I'm in 10 seconds. And what I did is one time I started all 4 printers and started heating them when they're going to use the most electricity. Went downstairs. At rest, my house uses about 4 cents an hour in electricity, right? With all the printers on heating, it uses 17. So 12 to 13 cents an hour. And then once they're at temperatures, they stop heating, the electricity draw drops a little bit because now it's not struggling to get to temperature, it's temperature, which is much easier. And then some printers automatically turn off the heated bed. If you don't use the heated bed, you don't have to worry about it. So about 14, 15 cents an hour to run the printers. And I don't think that's bad at all. Okay, what's up, security system? Brand bays, I don't know. You guys have to do research really. You can test the thermal runaway. What do you say? I tried testing mine, plugging the thermistor out, unplug it, but it did not prompt a warning. Yes, so if you unplug the thermistor, and then the temperature in the thermistor drops, but your block is still heating, you don't have thermal runaway. It's usually I think if it's more than 10 to 15 degree variance for 30 seconds, something like that, it'll kill the print. So you might want to Google upgrading your printer's firmware and enabling thermal runaway. Dan Bowden, yes, it's a powder base. You can watch YouTube videos on it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a powder based. Doesn't really tell you much on it, but it says don't need it. Why would a 3D printer motherboard burn out? Bad power supply. Either you had a power surge because your switch was in the wrong spot, the 120 to 220 voltage, or you could have a janky power supply. Some of the power supplies that came with the old Annette 8s, they were death traps. Jeet, how often have you replaced parts like rollers or pulleys or belts? Never. My CR10S has been running for almost a year now, and I've never even changed the nozzle on them. I greased the Z-axis a few times. I cleaned the rollers off. I never have. I think maintaining the heat on the heated bed does use a lot of electricity, yes. Let's see. All right. So, let's see. I wish I had a couple different projects over here, but I have some stuff in the garage that I'm currently painting. So, oh god, I'm trying to think. Slicer settings, good print. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. We covered that. Print orientation. That's another thing that seems to take people for a ride. What's the best way to orient a print? Yes, there's no good answer for that, unfortunately. It's preference. So, for example, you can use this helmet here, right? I have this on the bed. My printer is big enough. I have 3 printers big enough to print this in one shot, all right? What's the best way to print this? Some people print it flat like this. They just want it to come out nice and smooth, however much. But what that's going to do, it's going to use a lot of support inside. Now, some printers can handle big overhangs like that. Some can't. Now, you're going to use a lot of material. It's going to take way more time. And the longer the print goes, the bigger risk of failure. So you need to sort it up. But unfortunately, because of this one solid jaw piece, even if I stand it up like this, it's still going to make a support going all the way up here. I can flip it upside down like a bowl, and that's how I'll print. The back dome piece of Ironman helmets, because this jaw is a separate part, and then the face mask is a separate part. So I'll print this, like a bowl, and it'll use no supports inside. It just needs a little bit of support on the back. Now I could print it like that, and again, it's going to use a lot of support inside. So it's a trade-off. If you want the outside to come out, nice and smooth with no processing or sanding, or do you want a quicker print with less material? So to get this to fit on my bed, and you can see where my supports were right there. So that is my bottom point. It was oriented exactly like that. I cut off the jaw. This is you can see it taped here. I cut it off. And so this way there was no supports inside of this. And then I printed the jaw separately, flat like that. And then I'm just going to weld them together. So you have to consider what's the trade-off. Now, somebody who doesn't want a plastic weld, they're like, I don't want to do it. I don't want any glue or seam lines. You can print this in one whole shot. Again, totally fine. I am very, I don't want to say cheap, but like I have an OCD about wasting prints. Some people don't. They just want the part. They don't care about the cost, which is fine. I'm doing this on a budget still. I had all the filament for this project donated to me by Monoprice, which they gave me 15 rolls for free. So this is Monoprice PLA. I kind of have to plug them here because this stuff is just look at this. It's beautiful. And this is stock settings on a so this is my this was printed on my CR10 Max. This was printed on my Ender 3. And then the arms were printed on my CR10 S's, and just like smooth, just beautiful and smooth. I think I had one little droop in one spot. Yeah, maybe it's on the other one. So this is Monoprice PLA Plus, and it's beautiful. I'm trying to get a discount code from them to give to everybody, and I'll share that with anybody. Wilkes, thank you. I didn't know that was coming. Stop it, YouTube. Oh God. I use that's exactly what I have. I have the smart plugs. You can get smart plugs. I think I can link my Wi-Fi sockets to like an Echo or Google Home or whatever. Yeah, I had a printer for over 4 years and only had to replace the hot end because of user error. They last if you take care of them. You gotta talk to Creality about that. Yeah. So, and that kind of printing something big like this, that kind of falls back to what we were talking about earlier. Is bigger always better? You know, do you want to print something as big as possible and use a lot of waste or material or support? So, actually, here I have a good little comparison for you guys real fast. So we have the mask here, right? We have the bicep, forearm, and elbow. So 3 parts. Okay. I just recently bought this. It's a little scale. And what I started doing, and I'm going to show you guys 2 tricks real fast that it'll hopefully change your life. So it's at 0. Three 300 grams, right? So 300, 125, so 425. Okay. 90, 425, what, 515? 515, 1015 for those 2. 1,315, and then 1,715. So everything you see here, the helmet, the arms, about 1,700 grams of filament. Okay. This is all this. I saved all the support and waste material for this print. I do it with all my prints. This is all the support structure that I've used so far for this print. And what we can do, take a bin, zero it out. So 1,700 grams of filament, right? We're at 0. 180. So that's less than 2,000 grams of filament. All that support material, that's it. 187 grams. So everything you see here, the waste material, okay, a full helmet, 2 full arms, 2 rolls of filament. Now, if I oriented things differently, my waste and support material would have gone up. So I was able to get a good amount of a whole arm in 2 rolls of filament, $30, roughly. It's PLA Plus. It's a little expensive right now. So it'll hopefully come back down, but it's a good way to check your cost analysis and what you're wasting. I'm very stingy about my material. I haven't weighed it yet, but I have all the rafts, tree supports, and all the waste material from the suit in that closet. I have a bin of the failed prints, and I have a bin of all the rafts and stuff I've been using. So I'm going to do a cost analysis on that when it's done. Last time I checked, though, I only used about 14 to 15 rolls on the entire suit. All right. The reason why I did it, I wanted to. I no longer have a stock Ender 3. I added a magnetic flex bed because magnetic flex beds, I love them. Every single one of my printers has it. Upgraded the springs, all metal extruder, and a Bowden Capricorn tube, and that's it. Let's see. Great maths. Creality, when is the CR6 due to ship?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. For the shipping day, yeah, I don't know. Maybe right now it's May, so maybe June, July, August. I don't know.
It's still in development, so
yes.
Do you only use FDM or do you have a resin printer? Right now, I only use FDM. All 5 of my printers are FDM. I wouldn't mind looking into a resin printer for like smaller, more because I like Dragon. I have a couple Dragon Ball Z figures, little detailed prints. I might look into a resin printer. I got a full helmet and 3/4 of a roll rather than 2 after us. Yeah, orientation matters. It really, really does. I actually just had to pull the trigger on the shoulders for the new suit. I spent probably, no lie, 2 hours with orientation, like adjusting overhang angles, tilt it this way, tilt it that way, support blockers. I spent 2 hours orienting those prints to just use as little material as possible, and eventually I had to pull the trigger on one of them. I don't like how much material waste is going to come out of those, but but because of the hexagon patterns on the suit, I'm not cutting these. I'm not doing any plane cuts through these because fusing them will be a nightmare. So I should, so far, if I did all my calculations right, I'll be able to print all of Star Boost without cutting a single part. The CR10 Max is awesome. Do I use an auto generate? Yeah, I use the auto generate. Last night is the first time I ever added a custom support, and I only added like 2 of them just because I wasn't comfortable with the way it was oriented. So a lot of people will print. I've seen people print. They'll print a mask like this. Everything I touch is breaking. I see so I have my old Ender bed. I'll see people print a mask like this flat, and it uses so many supports, and it leaves weird banding at the top because your top layer won't be as smooth as like a nice edge. Stand your prints up. So what I'll do is I'll actually stand the mask up like that, and you can see right here there's a very low contact area, right? And getting a print to stand up and print like that might be a little difficult. So what I did, it was on the shoulders. It had the same kind of little solid point down here. I added some custom supports just here, just to help that start up. And then after that, they're printing fine. Filament recycler. If Creality wanted to make something cool, you guys need to make a filament recycler. They are expensive right now, and if you guys could figure out a way, just like a paper shredder that you just feed broken filament into, you would, oh my God, you guys would revolutionize this whole hobby. Recycling prints is very hard right now. I try to do what I can with like leftover rafts and stuff, but yeah, I have a lot of wasted material. And then I don't know, you can see behind me right here. Where is it? Those are all filament rolls.
Oh.
Yeah. And I have 15 more rolls sitting down here ready to print Star Boost. So the filament recycling would be pretty cool, and it would get you guys a lot of good business. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Currently, all my printers are Creality brand. I have entertained the idea of other ones. I like them. I think it's the biggest part is the interchangeability of them. If one of the steppers on my max dies, I can use a stepper from my 10S. The nozzle, I swapped nozzles between parts between my Ender and my CR10Ss. A lot of the parts are very interchangeable, and it's I think that's pretty cool. And then the community support, there's a very, very large community. The Creality, the Facebook groups, and the CR10S Max and V2 groups. So there's a big, wide community of it, and they're very user friendly. They're not as messy as like a Net A8 Plus, or you don't have to build them. I think for the price, you get almost ready to go out of box with a little bit of assembly and tuning. Custom supports in Cura, as long as you have Cura 4.6, I don't know when they started adding it, but it's down there, and you literally just drop blocks underneath where you want to add the supports. It's the same way you use the support blocker. Yeah, it's weird. I still want to experiment with it. Print orientation, yeah, cool. Finishing prints. Big old cosplay Ironman suit. That covers most of what I wanted to talk about today. So I don't know how long Corey wanted the stream to go. We're at about that hour mark. I can keep going. I could talk about this for hours, but it's totally up to her on how long she wants this to be.
You mean the live?
Yeah.
Suppose 1 hour.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, still any questions for the people? I think they all love your live.
Yeah,
and then and also you have a live on your channel tomorrow, right? So maybe guys also can go to watch that. Yes, and I also post your YouTube channel link on the top, so all of you can. I mean the people in the Facebook also can join. Bank link, yeah, for tomorrow. If you have more questions or more interested in for the printing, especially for the powder ball.
So yeah, guys, if I made the suit for me. I wanted it, I always wanted one. But as I started kind of getting into it, I like sharing and teaching. I'm not trying to hide any of this from anybody. So I have tons of tutorials on print orientation, and I'm moving more into tuning your printers and software, and I want to teach you guys what I know. It's fun. I like it. I absolutely adore getting that message from somebody who's like, hey man, I watched your video and I adjusted some supports, my print time got cut down, or it means it's helping somebody. And if one of my videos helps one person, like get a little bit of a smoother print, or figure out what was wrong with one of their printers, like that's worth it to me. I like it. So check out, if you guys want, check out the channel. You don't need to subscribe to me. I don't care about that. If you like what I did, go ahead and do it. But I just want the information out there to help people. So I'm adding more videos. Tomorrow I'm having this really cool cosplay girl on. Her name's Kiara. She's making an Ironman suit too, but she's designing the entire thing herself. Like she's making it with this cool under exoskeleton, all moving panels. Like she's way better than me. I can't 3D model at all. So I'm having her on tomorrow at 8 p.m. London time. So tune into that. And I'm doing lives. I just got done doing a helmet giveaway, like a whole Ironman helmet giveaway. So I'm trying to do cool giveaways like that. Eventually, if things keep going right, maybe I can give away like printers and stuff. That'd be pretty awesome. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes, and if you guys interested in, maybe next time I can invite you to share more information. Okay. So I think it's good for everyone. It's one more thing. I'm not sure that people. Yes. It's a lot of people just asking the stock for the Ender 5. I'm not sure that because right now I have one in stock just for one guy. He just got that duplicate. So if anyone in UK want Ender 5, just add my Facebook account to check with me. So yes. Also, sometimes when I post some message, people just come to ask. And then just at the last, someone want to get it's a brand new Ender 5. Yes, brand new. Just one guy got that duplicate, and then he don't want that. He want to return to one, and I think that it's people in UK that we can send it directly.
Okay.
So yes, thank you so much for everyone. And for tomorrow, all guys can go check Frank Bill's channel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so see you tomorrow. See you
very
next
much,
week.
guys. Thank you.
Yes,
Boris.
for you. Yes, thank you. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, okay, so 8. I think we are 8. We make it 8 already. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You really can